What up, what up, what up? To a great chat coming up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off real quick talking about what will go down today. We're doing a interview and chat with the infamous Mark Arcenal, who's known for many different things. And we're just super excited to have him here. I'm glad that you guys are all jumping in. But before we get to the conversation, I want to bring up a few different things. This Saturday, I will be doing a live chat with Verone, and maybe for the first time, we might actually find out what he does for a living. Maybe. So stay tuned for that. That is going to happen Saturday at 1 p.m. And then, if you guys haven't already, if you guys want to be a part of the chat, if you guys will please go to the stories and look for the questions tab and leave your question there. That way I can bring up your question during the live chat. So I think that's a new feature on Instagram. I've never seen it before until I saw someone using it earlier today. So I'm hoping to utilize that new feature today. So if you guys haven't already, like I said, go ahead and leave the questions on the stories. That way we can be able to share that and show it with everybody else. So as everyone is flocking in here, once again, we'll be doing a live chat with the one and only Mark Arcenal, and super, super excited. So what we'll do is there's probably gonna be a lot to talk about, and these live chats are only good for 1 hour. So we'll go to that 1 hour, and then we'll come back and do the second segment part, which will probably be filled with a lot of Q&A and probably further conversation. So there's that. And then, also, what I will do is once all of this is said and done, I will upload this to YouTube so that you guys can watch it later. And if you're not here, you can obviously be a part of it. So, well, at least by witnessing it. So without any further ado, we'll get started, and I'm going to go ahead and look for Mark, and hopefully Mark's already in here. Let me know if you guys can hear me well, because I don't know if you guys can. And Mark, let's see. 1 second. Oh, it doesn't look like Mark is in here yet. It looks like Mark's running on Filipino time. All right, so until then, all right, perfect. Thank you guys. So what we'll do right now is, if you guys have some questions, if you guys have some conversation pieces that you guys want to, oh, there's Mark. All right, here we go. Give me 1 second. Dang, Mark coming in heavy.
Yeah, I'm just joking.
Get Corona through the live chat.
Yeah, that's my daily suit.
Sick. Where are you at right now? Is that your compound, your warehouse?
Yeah, it's my my little office.
Sweet. Cheers. All right, how you feeling today?
Pretty good. We did a lot of work today.
What'd you do? Oh wait, you're working on your was it the Panamera?
No, it's not the Panamera. We had a lot of orders with the RWB stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it just came in yesterday, so we shipped them all out today.
Nice. You do that at the warehouse? What do you call it? Is it the compound or the warehouse, or what?
We call it the paddock.
Okay, the paddock. Nice.
Yeah.
You been there for a while?
9 years now.
Oh dang.
Yeah.
The dream. That's the dream.
If I owned it, it'd be the dream, but Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one step at a time, right? So,
Totally.
for everybody joining, if you guys don't know who Mark is, then you're probably living under a rock. If you're obviously a car guy, Mark's very influential, within fashion, design, cars. Are you into food?
I like food. I like Japanese food.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So all of the above, but Mark's very active, as many of you guys know, in NorCal, but Mark flies around everywhere from SoCal to New York, probably Japan. He's a busy guy. So,
Yeah. Man, I
so
think I
what
drank too early.
did you?
Yeah.
Well, oh man, what do you drink? You got to show us the label.
Oh, it's can you read that?
Yeah, well, it's kind of backwards. So,
Oh, a Nika whiskey. Some
is it super?
Japanese
Is
whiskey.
it super JDM?
Yeah, a friend gave it to me for store. I store people's cars at my warehouse, so
Yeah.
he gave me that as a present.
Oh, nice. How's it taste?
It's pretty good.
Were you pre-drinking with that and the beer?
Yeah, no, I was like waiting. It was like 6:15, so I was like, "Fuck, I'm gonna take a drink."
Sweet. Well, all right. Well, let's do this. Let's kind of jump into. We'll tell people a little bit about you know where you come from and what you do, and that way we can kind of get people settled because I think a lot of people know about you, but maybe not about where you come from. And
Yeah.
so, but you know what? Let's establish something real quick.
Okay.
I get this all the time. When I tell people I'm 40, people usually trip out. You look very young. We Asians look very young. So let's kind of establish like your age because I want to kind of establish generations from like where you come from and stuff.
I'm mid 40s.
Okay, so you from the mid '70s, you grew up in the '80s. You were already maybe close to your teens already,
Yeah.
and so you had a big part of. I'm assuming even cars back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have much money for cars, but I loved them. I mean, I think just being around people that had money that bought cars
Yeah, yeah.
got me like super excited about them. And like I was given my mom, like she basically stopped driving when I got my license, so I could be her driver.
The chauffeur.
Yeah, the show. I mean, it was a decent car. It was for back in the day. I had a 318i. It was a E30.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So
I mean, that thing went through like 5 paint jobs, different
uh,
body kits. You know what I mean? Because I couldn't afford to buy another car.
your first car was a BMW?
Yeah, E30.
Okay. Wow, that's interesting. I would figured it would have been JDM. Did you ever get into JDM at some point or
Um, I had um, I had a few JDM cars.
okay. All
Yeah,
right. Well,
like
we'll get into it. I got your list. I only kind of went over partially, so it'll be really good to go over that. Well, let's talk a little bit about like your upbringing. Obviously you were born and raised in NorCal, or what's the story with that?
yeah, I was born in San Francisco, raised in San Francisco for a while, and then we moved around the city. Different parts of the Bay Area.
Pre-tech boom, San Francisco. I'm assuming was still probably pretty pricey still, right? I mean, do you
I mean,
remember that growing up?
it's always been expensive. I think I guess like the first run of .com, that's when like the prices skyrocketed,
Ah,
and then it just stayed that high. It
yeah,
never
yeah.
really went low.
So you were probably getting close to maybe 30 years old when that was kind of happening during the .com. Do you remember specifically like how that changed the NorCal experience?
What do you mean?
Like, do you feel like there was a time you remember when everything got super expensive and it was harder for you to um, like whatever lifestyle that you may have been living? Did it because it got expensive? Did you guys have to move around because of that, or did you guys just hustle harder as a family and just keep up with the Joneses, or like what was that like? I mean, while you were
Well, growing up, I think we moved down to the East Bay. It was way cheaper over there. I
yeah,
think my parents bought their house for 70,000 bucks or something like that.
wow,
Yeah, I mean the first house they bought was like 38,000. Second house was 70,000 bucks. We lived there for a while. Then we moved back to the city, and then to Burlingame. Then my parents moved over to Tiburon. But yeah, I mean, I think they're very fortunate. Well, we're very fortunate to get lucky, basically. You know, like I don't know if I should get. I guess I can get into it, but like say for example, my parents didn't really have much money. They were both chemists, so they made a set amount of money.
Yeah.
But they went to some house auction in Tiburon, and you know, I don't know if you've been to Tiburon, but it's like a super expensive. It's like Beverly Hills, right, out
Mm.
here.
Okay.
And they went to a lot sale. My mom just like raised her hand with the paddle, and everyone was like, "Oh, they don't want to bid against her," so she got the lot super cheap, like
Oh
two
wow.
hundred $80,000, right? And before they built the house, they could have sold the lot for like 3.5 million. So it's like a lot of these things where they got lucky, and you know what I mean. It's like right timing most of the
But
time.
I feel like lots of times luck though has a little bit to do with the right timing, and right timing comes from just kind of being prepared, right? Because they were probably curious. I mean, you don't just go, we should just go buy a lot right now. Like they were probably
Yeah,
like, hey, look, it might be a good investment, or there was some interest with that. So,
yeah, yeah.
um, so I've been to Burlingame one time. I went to go pick up a car over there, but Burlingame seemed like is a nice, quaint town, right? I mean, is that what it is? Is a small area, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that big. I mean, it's got the one of the best school districts. I mean, like basically, the parents chip in to make the school district really good,
Okay.
and it's only 5 minutes from the airport, so that's kind of very convenient for me.
Oh, okay. So, I heard on another podcast that you were kind of getting into into trouble when you were younger. You were kind of jumping around high schools and stuff.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I was like an artist.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they call them artists now, but I was like way into graffiti, and I used to tag everywhere, and I got in trouble in two different high schools, and then my third high school, I got straight A's because I didn't know anybody.
Okay.
Yeah, it was my senior year, and I just knew one group of people, and they were all like all into the Cure.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
so you know, got really good grades.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you went from. I mean, were you always brought up in a creative family? Like, were your parents creative and they pushed you to do
No.
art? So you just kind of gravitated towards that?
No. Here's a story that nobody knows this story, but I'll tell you guys.
Oh, here we
All
go,
right.
guys. Listen closely.
So growing up, I wasn't given any toys. Actually, I might have told this story once. I never got toys. Never. Right? Like my neighbors had 6 laser tags and like a whole room full of Legos. Right? My dad gave me like tools, like a screwdriver and a hammer, and just make shit. Right? So that was like my tools. So that's kind of like why I'm right now. Is like I buy things because I've never had it before, right? I'm like way too old to be buying a lot of things, but it's cool.
Okay. So your parents were chemists. They kind of bought you functional gifts. So you
Yeah.
grew up without toys. And then you always felt, I mean, do you have siblings and stuff?
I have an older sister, and that's how I got into art because she was in high school, freshman, and I was in 8th grade, and we were roaming around the city I don't know how old I was at that time, but I was just following her, and all her friends were doing graffiti, and then I thought it was really cool. And
So that
we were
was the
jumping
influence?
buses, we were like tagging buses and going through the fire escape. I mean, the windows in the back of the bus so you
Yeah,
don't get
yeah,
in
yeah.
trouble. Yeah, we would do crazy stuff like that.
Now, when you grew up, was it heavy like Asian influence, or did you grow up around a mixed bag of?
Oh yeah, dude. Like it seemed like when I lived in the East Bay, we were all Filipinos. We were like DJ group and a lot of gang shit.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
crazy. Yeah,
yeah. And that was you're talking about like late '80s or early '90s.
90s, pretty much 80s, 90s. Like it was a lot of gang stuff, and I think it was a blessing for my parents to move me to my last high school because I was away from that, and a lot of our friends got into like a lot of trouble, and some went to prison, and some got killed.
Wow. So it was heavy up in NorCal then, huh?
Oh, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, because it was the early '90s. You know, at the time I was 14, like in '94, and so I remember like Asian gangs being kind of a heavy thing over here. But you know, deeper LA, even San Francisco, it had been just way crazy.
Well, yeah, I
So,
think we also lived right next to Richmond, and which is like right next door to Oakland.
uh,
So our high school was kind of crazy, right? Like, oh, here's a funny story. So Green Day, you know Green Day?
yeah,
So they were in the same year I was at Pinole at the high school, and they
yeah.
would play in the quad, right? Like they just play, and everyone, like half the school's half black, right? So they're all like, "What the fuck are these guys doing here?" But it was cool. Like, I mean, they I guess they left school at senior year, and they became Green Day.
Wow,
Yeah, it was
that's
crazy.
insane. Because I do remember Green Day like in the '90s, like mid '90s, already kind of making it. So
Yeah,
that's man, that's crazy.
yeah,
So
it was crazy.
they're just like F high school. We're just gonna go for this.
For real.
So so at that time, you went to high school. You felt like you had this kind of creative blood. Did you get to a point where did you? I mean, did you go to college? Like, what was your deal with
Yeah.
that?
No, I went to college. I was my major was more medicine because I wanted to be like a
Asian.
no no. I wanted to be a cosmetic surgeon because I was way into like boobs, right? Like no, it's like, for real. No, I
Okay.
wanted to operate. I wanted to be like a cosmetic surgeon.
Okay.
And then I took a bunch of classes and it was a lot too much blood for me, right? So then I said, oh shit, I need to finish college. So I took up interior design and I became an interior designer. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a that's a hilarious story. That is so fun.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
all right,
Nobody
so
knows that. Now they do.
just 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 the 80 of us in here. So you went from liking boobs and didn't like blood, which you know I went to college, same thing. I started as medical and I decided I didn't like blood and I dropped out. So anyways, you went through that whole thing and then you went to interior design. Okay,
Yeah.
so how long did you stay in that for?
Oh, I didn't. I just I used it to graduate and I discovered websites around that time.
Okay,
And I just started making websites for a lot of people and I
that's
got
like early 2000,
yeah, I got no
late
yeah
90s.
yeah. I
Okay.
got really good at making websites. And actually, I had my own company at the time. I was making stickers, right? But then my dad said, "Hey, you need to get a real job. You can't just do this out of college." I go, "But I bought a new car. I'm like, what are you talking about?" So I got a job at the Gap. You know, I was designing for the Gap for a while.
Okay.
Gap.com.
So
Yeah.
how did that come to be? Like you just applied or something? Like how do you
No.
work?
A friend of mine was working at Gap, and he was like, "Hey, dude, we need a graphic designer." I'm like, "I don't know any. I mean, sure, I'll do it. You know, I'll try."
You
Then
were already
I
messing with
actually
like Illustrator or like Photoshop or what?
no, it was just editing images. You know, like after photo shoots, like if there's some blemishes, you just touch it up, send it back. It was really easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So out of kind of circumstance, people are hitting you up. You're just trying different things,
Yeah.
and at some point, I mean, did you move? I mean, obviously you moved up from Gap because you ultimately ended up at Nike, right?
Yeah. After Gap, I went through all these advertising agencies. I was working for a ton of agencies, and
Okay.
just like agency of record for Adidas, and then EA, and just a whole bunch of different agencies. And then I went back to Gap for about a month, and then Nike hit me up. It was like, "Hey, you wanna come up?" And then I went there for an interview. Well, it wasn't really an interview. It just they toured me around the campus, and I thought it was just a tour. And then at the end of the tour, they're like, "Hey, do you want to work here?" I'm like, okay. I gotta ask my
Wow.
wife.
So you're already married at the time. You're finished with college, and then
Yeah.
you're touring Nike, and they said, "Hey, look." I mean, at that point, you already had kind of a reputation in the design world. Or how did
Well,
that?
I think yeah, I was actually pretty decent in advertising, and people knew me from that. But I think it was because of my website. They really latched on. It was like Fatlace.com. I had this like one app that I built out of Flash. You know Flash? I don't know if you know.
Yeah.
But basically, I built the first Nike ID, and then the Nike ID guys were like, "Oh, we love this," you know. And then I'm like, "Oh yeah, I just built it real quick." And they invited a friend of mine that worked at EA became like, I think some kind of VP at Nike, and he invited me to meet a bunch of other VPs, and they just hired me.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty crazy story because nowadays, obviously, stuff like design. I mean, because when we were growing up, it wasn't like Asian parents were pushing. They're like, "Oh man, you should get into arts," you know. Because I did that with my son, but you know, Asian parents, like
No.
especially us first gens or 1.5 gens or whatever the case, or second gen, however you want to define it. But you know, we didn't have that type of luxury of parents saying, "Man, you should do something with art." You know, that always was like a question mark. You know, like
Yeah. No,
you know, like
it is. I mean, it's difficult because now it's easy, right? Because of the internet. But I think back then we were just very we were kind of like risk takers doing this art shit, right? Like I think my parents were like, "Oh, what that's crazy. Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sure." I mean, and then now she like carries my magazines around, and she's like, "Oh, you gotta see my sons." I'm like, oh my god, so embarrassing.
but that's cool though because you know parents obviously are gonna be you know hopefully like your parents would be your biggest cheerleaders. You know, like they want to be like you know they want to tell their friends about us, right? Like you can imagine just like if you became a singer or an actor, like parents always become like the biggest advocates. Obviously, they want you to become a doctor first. Then it's
Yeah.
like, oh well, you know, now he's a famous designer or whatever the case is. So your parents came around. I mean, at some point, did they ever like tell you you shouldn't follow that path and just go to school again for
No, I think
medicine?
after my dad realized I was doing well in advertising, I think he just let me do whatever. You know, I think by that time I was already old. And then my parents, you know, like I was dating my wife at the time, and we were making pretty good money. So I think it was cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
So after that, like I mean, did you work with Nike for a long time or?
No, no, just like almost 3 years. And then I was gonna have my third son. I mean, I was my third kid.
Yeah.
And then my wife was like, "You should probably move back, right?" Because I was commuting from here to San Francisco to Oregon. And then
Wow. Hold up. Hold up. Let's talk about that.
yeah.
How did that work, and how long was that drive?
Hey, Leslie. Um, I think well, so basically, I leave work on Monday morning, and then I fly back home on Thursday.
Okay, so you're flying.
Yeah.
Wow. So you're gone just the middle of the whole week.
Yeah, just in the middle of the week, I was gone, and then sometimes they would throw Japan in the middle. So then I'd
Okay.
fly to Japan for a day and then fly back. And
Wow. Was
yeah,
that
so
tiring?
I racked up quite a lot of points, but I got pretty sick of flying
Yeah.
after that.
So 3 years is kind of a long time to do something like that, to fly back and forth, and
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
I think 500 flights or something like that. It was crazy.
Good lord.
Yeah.
So what came after Nike then?
That's when I started Illest. They gave me like a year severance, and then because they were doing a reshuffle, gave me a year severance, and then I just used all
Oh,
that money.
so out of circumstance, you parted ways. You had kind of some seed money, and then you started something you were passionate about. You started Illest, which at
Yeah.
the time, did you already have an idea what it was going to be, or was it just like, hey, look,
No,
I'm just going to do something.
no, like some of the people in the room actually helped build the brand. You know, what I mean, I
Nice.
think um, very fortunate to have great people. You know what I mean? It was super tough. I mean, we moved 3 different times. It was just chaotic. You know, like we would always worry about like, oh shit, do we have enough money for next week? Or you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
once you run out of your money, you're just like, oh my god, we got to think of something clever. And
yeah.
then it seems like we're lucky enough to be able to create very clever things and work with tons of people, and people want us to work together.
Right. So Serial 7777 says you're welcome. So he's one of your boys, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
Um, okay. So what year was that when you started Illust?
that was 2009.
Oh wow. So 10 years ago.
Yeah, well, yeah. 2006 when I was at Nike, I created the first Illest T-shirt, and then the people at Nike were like, "Hey, man, you have your own thing going. Why don't you just do that?" I'm like, "Well, I'm trying to learn from you guys."
Yeah.
And then I'll eventually move on, because I didn't know anything, but working there really got me to, I guess, see the light and see how people communicate with other people and see how you can leverage relationships. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not burn them. A lot of people, it's difficult, right? Like you learn when you're young that fuck, man, if I burn someone, it's never gonna work out, right? And it just eventually you learn.
Well,
as you
yes.
get older.
Well, some people never learn that lesson. I know people in the past who continually just burn relationships. And they don't. I mean, they don't care about maintenance. I feel like a lot of people don't care about maintenance, and so it's like, fuck it. Like,
Yeah.
I already had my time with you. Peace out. And so,
Yeah, that's a problem. I think that's a huge problem. I don't think people understand that. But eventually they will, you know what I mean? Later on.
yeah, yeah. Well, let's do this. So let's kind of hit up some of the comments in this area, and
Okay.
everyone's is been pretty active in here. A lot of people are talking about Fatlace. So obviously Fatlace is still around. How do you
Put on
differentiate?
my mask now.
Put
No,
it
no.
on.
No. I'm just joking.
So what's the difference between Fatlace and Illest?
Fatlace is just like a blog. Like we tried to make it a brand for a minute, and then it's difficult to do two brands at one time. And
Yeah,
then Illest is just straight up clothing brand.
got it. Okay.
Yeah.
What do we got here? We got Coffee Lounge OD. So there's a lot of people just jumping in here saying hi. Some people said, I remember when you first dropped Illest in the car culture. For the Illest haircut tips, follow my too true. So, all right. So what we'll do is we'll jump into our next topic, which is leading into cars. So obviously, your upbringing led you to kind of be rebellious and creative. But in that component, I'm assuming you were kind of a car guy from the get, or I remember when I fell in love with cars, I was 12 years old in
Wow.
'92. But for you, since you're a little bit older than I, I'm kind of curious about when that moment was when you realized like you were in love with cars.
I think I was 14. I went to a Volkswagen show with a bunch of friends. I had no idea where we were going. We just jumped in my friend's van, and then they brought us to some show in Sacramento. It was called VW Bug Out or something. I don't know, something crazy. But that's when I saw VWs. That's why I fell in love with the German side really early.
Yeah.
And it was really hard to leave that because if that's the first thing that you see, like you don't want to leave that. So my first, I don't know, that was like my first idea. I don't know. How about you?
Was JDM not a big heavy presence in up north or where you were from, or
No,
what's the
it
story?
was. I mean, I think at that time we were living in Daly City. We had a house there. I rented it to like 7 other people, like other
Yeah.
students. So it was like a college house, right? And we would sell stickers to all the JDM kids. Like every single crew, I made their stickers, right? It was called
Yeah.
Mecha Graphics. My company was Mecha Graphics at the time.
Yeah.
And we just made stickers for all the race cars, all the guys that were drag racing and shit. But I had an Acura. I bought an Acura after my BMW because I had some money. Well, my mom helped me too. But
Yeah.
I bought an Acura RS, Integra RS or something like that. I even put nitrous in it, dude.
All right, so hold on. Before we go any further, I don't know why my buddy Chris, who's on watching right now, the only thing that I know about Daly City is that it has a lot of Filipinos, and he told me this joke about why it's so foggy there, and it's because of all the rice cookers or something. But
Oh yeah,
that's all I can
yeah,
think
dude.
of
Ranch
right.
99 is too much over there. But yeah.
So you got heavy into VWs. Your very first car was an E30. Was it a brand new E30?
My parents bought it off their good friend. It was they bought it in 1986. It was 1984. So it was a big bumper one.
Okay. And so it was a few years old.
Yeah.
So you get that car, and you're already like, I'm going to slam this bitch and get all crazy, or what?
Yeah, after that Volkswagen show, that's the first thing. I cut the springs. Like, I cut one spring in half and put it on the other side. So I was really low, right? But then I took a turn and the spring flew off. And that's when I discovered zip ties. No, for real. This for real. I zip tied the spring so they wouldn't move anymore. Yeah.
It's so funny because I remember when I was in junior high, like in 92, 93, it's funny because Rex is watching. Rex is calling me young blood and stuff. And, you know, for me, like, you guys were, you know, guys your age, you guys were pioneering a lot of this stuff. You guys were cutting shit, heating stuff up.
Yeah.
And it's because, you know, there were no parts around, right? So you guys were like, hey, you know, we're trying to do this thing. And I remember, like, slammed EFs at the time, CRXs, and, you know, in EGs, but everything was super ghetto. Like, I remember when I first got my EF, that was in 95. And I remember the guy asked me, yo, what kind of springs you want? And I was like, I don't know. He goes, we got these new springs, Sprint springs. You know, they're super low. You want them? And I was like,
oh, Sprint. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, man. That was like super old school. And I remember I couldn't even get out of the driveway because like my entire thing was stuck on the hump. And man, it was insane. And I remember one of my neighbors who's older than I, he had an EF. He goes, yo, how long, how are your tires doing? And I was like, oh, my tires are good. He goes, man, come over real quick. So he comes over, and I was like, look, the tires are fine. And he goes, no, dude. He goes, turn your wheel. And I was like, okay. So I turned my wheel, and I had wires like springing all out of the tire. So when Eric says newsfeed, oh my God, here we go. We're gonna start pulling up all the old school stuff. But you know, it's so interesting because by mid '90s, I think parts were already starting to flood out, either from Germany or from Japan, and obviously a new market was starting to form. And you know, it was no longer about like doing kind of, you know, ratty stuff. But you guys kind of lived through a lot of that, you know. And I'm assuming it was the same thing in the VW world, right?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't get my first VW. Well, actually, I got it right after. I got a Mark I Jetta GTI, but we had a Jetta dashboard. I think it was stolen. I don't know. But,
someone brought up Tenzo R. Oh my God.
Yeah.
All right. So these old school. Okay. So so you get into that. So you get into you sent me a list. All right, you guys. So Mark sent me a list of all the cars he's owned. He's at 99 cars up to this point. He's got a couple he's highlighted. I'm assuming these are the cars that you currently have, right? The blue ones?
Oh yeah, that's the car I'm driving now.
So I'm gonna go over this list real quick. He's owned three Acuras, two Honda. You've only owned two Hondas?
Yeah.
That's insane. So an S2000 and a 97 EK Honda.
That was my wife's car. That was my wife's car. It was a coupe.
So you've only owned one Honda?
Yeah.
Wow, that is so interesting. So two NSXs and a 94 Integra. Okay. Interesting. You had one Mazda. You had an RX-7, which was an FD. Okay. 2005 Evo 9.
Oh, that FD blew up, by the way.
What happened? What do you mean, like, blew up?
I mean, I bought it to fix it up. I fixed it up a little. I sold it to a friend. The next day, it blew up in his house. Burnt his house down.
It caught on fire?
Caught on fire. They brought it to, a place that could smog. So they were messing with the fuel. And they brought it home. He looked out into the garage. The whole garage was on fire.
Dang. Were they pissed at you?
What was that?
Were they pissed at you?
No, it wasn't my fault. He brought it to those people, and they were messing with the fuel.
But it was your car?
No. I sold it to him.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Damn, that sucks, man. Roadie is like, you always gotta find that guy who knows his shit, but everyone always says they do, and then they really don't. So, like,
yeah,
I always feel like Roadie's a little sketch, but so you've owned two Mitsubishis, one Montero.
But that Montero was a mistake. I returned it like 3 days later. And my wife was like, "Why are you putting the Montero there?" I bought it as a graduation present from college, and I said I didn't have any money. I didn't even have a job. So then I returned it. My uncle was like the general manager, so he let
And
me return
that's how you
it.
got the Montero. You've owned a bunch of Nissans.
Yeah, I love
So,
Nissan.
1972, like an old school truck, a Hako. I'm assuming 72 is a
Yeah,
Hako,
the
right?
Skyline. Hmm.
So 74s are, what are those called again? Like
The
those aren't
Camry.
the Camaros, yeah. So I heard those are kind of a strange car to drive. I'm kind of curious about your thoughts on that.
Mm, I don't. I
What
didn't
are,
keep it very long.
yeah,
Yeah.
seems like that's kind of the sense there. S13, you've owned three of them, and S14. So I'm assuming you grew up watching Initial D.
I didn't.
Oh,
I
okay.
just grew up because a lot of my friends of ours, and when I started drifting, they all had Nissan. So I thought, fuck, I had an S2000, right? So then I said, oh, I gotta get rid of this S2000 because it was very hard to drift. And
Yeah.
I just bought a Nissan after that.
Okay. And then your Porsche list is pretty extensive. It's lots of stuff here. So I'm going to quickly run through it. It says 356, 911T, 912, bunch of 911s from the 70s, 80s, 911 RWB, 911 SCs, RWB. So if you guys don't know, Mark is definitely, I would say, the founding father of RWB coming to America. He had his hand in what RWB is right now. And it's so interesting to see the evolution of RWB
Yeah.
because, you know, between when you probably found them or Nakai and when you start bringing that over here, what was, I mean, it's so funny because it's like RWB is so polarizing, right? You get people who are like, they love it, and
Yeah.
other people are like, they hate it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, and everyone's got such a strong opinion on it, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. It's
so,
left or right.
yeah.
Left or right.
So you've owned a couple of them, and I think part of probably the issue is with it is that RWB is kind of is designed and made by the owners, right? And so it doesn't have like a factory where like everything comes out kind of the same. It's
Yeah.
kind of like build it to your own spec. And some people would do a better job than others, and I think that's part of the culture of it. But so you've had your hand in them. Obviously, you had one, two, three, four-ish
Yeah.
RWBs.
Hmm.
So do you currently have one now?
Well, I kind of share one, I guess, with a
Yeah,
friend.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, so going down, you've owned one, two, three 964s. One was a Cabriolet.
No, they're all coupes. Did I put cab?
I'm sorry, I thought I saw a Cabriolet. It says RWB. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
so let's kind of get into this. Obviously, I'm a big fan of 964s. Somebody asked me about this, but when you got into 964s, actually, my buddy Teddy wanted to know. Um, do you feel like of all the 911s you've owned, and just going down the line, you've also had a 993, a 996, 997, a 991. So you've owned almost every generation, from long hoods all the way up to current day.
Yeah.
What? Okay, let's start by saying this. What is your favorite 911?
After all of those, I think the 964 is my favorite.
Okay, first of all, we can't say that too loud because then more people are going to try to jump and try to get on. So, obviously, that's one of my favorite, if not favorite. You've driven all of them. Like, what makes the 964 special to you?
Well, I think it was my first. Um, well, when I was younger, I always wanted a Porsche because I couldn't afford a Porsche, right? And in 2000, I think 2007, we did something at Nike where we kicked off some tennis thing, and oh no, yeah, we opened up a store in New York, and Serena Williams and like Roger Federer, the tennis player, they were playing in the middle of New York, and we had I don't know, it took us forever to make this I guess this campaign, right, for Nike. To celebrate that campaign, I said, I'm going to bid on this Porsche because it ends by the time I get back to the hotel. So when I get back to the hotel, I win, right? And I said, oh, shit, I don't have money for this Porsche, right? But luckily, it was around Christmas time, and we get our Christmas bonus. And I used my Christmas bonus, and I bought my very first Porsche in Seattle. So I took a train up there, and then I drove it down. And it happened to be a 964.
So that was the blue one?
That was the black one.
Okay. So the black one, let's see what we have here. I don't see the black one in your list here.
Oh, it turned into Pandora one. That was my very first one, yeah.
Okay, gotcha, okay.
1990 C4.
So 1990 C4, obviously my boy Aaron bought your Baltic Blue one, which is now Nardo. Have you seen that car since it's been...
I did, and I was I didn't want to ask because I wanted to buy it back, but I already know the prices went like this, so I just just let that one go.
So if you guys don't know, if you do buy a car from Mark, there's a good chance that he will buy it back from you, and I've seen this over and over from him.
I've done it so many times, and there's one thing that Aaron doesn't know about this car, and I'll let him know.
Here we go. Let's hear it.
So behind me is my garage, right? I opened the garage. Okay, one day, after I bought the car, I'm like, oh man, I love this car. I put these BBS wheels on. It looks so beautiful, right? I opened the garage. There was oil on the whole garage.
Okay.
From that car. It like leaked the whole, that's when I decided to do the engine rebuild. So he got a good car.
So the funny thing is, to me, 964 owners were like, oh, that sounds like a Tuesday. Like, finding all that oil, because they just drip all the time,
No, I mean the whole floor was.
It was all done, like it just emptied out.
The whole.
What happened?
Floor.
Like it just.
I have no idea. I still drove it. I drove it to my friend's shop.
It's crazy because that car has so many miles. Like, I mean, we call Aaron's car the 2018 964, because he's redone everything on it, but. But when you look at his odometer, it's it's got like 238,000 miles or plus, And,
yeah, so that's what I loved about it. It had like a 200,000 mile car. I was stoked about that.
Yeah, that's cool. I love hearing at least the the evolution of it. So, so you've done a couple of 964 RWBs, but when you bought your very first car, it was a 964. Same with me. It was one of those things that like I didn't know anything about them. When I got into 964s, or when I got into my first 911, I didn't grow up around like people who had Porsches. I grew up around a bunch of Honda heads. Yeah. And so for me, when I first got into them in 2015, for me, plug. For me, it was a thing that was I told my buddy who has a bunch of Euro cars. I said, are those 101 or what?
No, these are all my steering wheel. They're just here. No, yeah, no. I mean, I think because I was into Volkswagens, it was very easy to transition over. Because that shit was air cooled. It was just a bigger air cooled motor. That's it.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember one time somebody was making some comments about whether something about being a Porsche loyalist or this or that or bandwagon this or that. And the funny thing is, I had this thing where a lot of us came from grassroots beginnings, right? Either from Honda or from VW, as a majority, just because it was cheap and it was plentiful, and shrimp chips sound good actually. So for me, I think, you either came from Honda or VW. And if you're lucky, you probably started with a lot of different other marquees, whether it being, for you, you started in BMW. But a lot of us, didn't start from those things. We started kind of more from the bottom. And so I always feel like because the JDM world is so small, there's not a lot of levels to go up to. Once you buy like a Super or NSX, that's already kind of the pinnacle, there's nothing else. Yeah. And so I feel like because the market's so small, that's why I ended up venturing into Porsches, but mainly because my wife was like, dude, you have a son, you need to you need to get a car with back seats, you know? And so that's how my journey began.
Yeah.
But I didn't know if I was going to like German cars because, you know, I never had a desire to get German car until my wife was like, dude, you need to get back seats. And so, but when I drove it, like everything for me, the standard was, you know, when I met you, you had seen my NSX and I had my S2000. I had a bunch of 2-seaters, and my wife was like, look for something else. And so when I first drove a 964, it was modded, and instantly I was like, this reminds me of an NSX in a sense, but it had back seats. And it only took me 2 minutes to realize, like, yo, I'm about this lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? And then I didn't know anything about Porsche or the Porsche people. I just knew I liked the car. And when I was talking to Ozzy just the other day, I talked about this idea. If I want to, like, I love Impalas, but if I went out and bought an Impala, you know, when you buy a car, you're buying the lifestyle too. You know, like if I went out
totally.
an Impala, if I bought an Impala with Daytons and started driving around the boulevard, people would be like, "Who the fuck is this fool?" You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, it's a delicate balance when you try to incorporate a lifestyle, and then you got to figure out like how deep you're going to go into it, because, you know, it can get kind of heavy. You know, like any subculture.
You could totally get caught up. I think you're right. You're totally right. I mean, it's just whatever brand car you buy, you could definitely get caught up. You know, and I think that's the most difficult part about it, because Porsche is crazy, man. Like, I didn't realize how deep it was until I got mine, right? And I was like, oh my God. I went to my first 356 meet and was all 75 and 90-year-olds, right? I'm like, oh my God, I'm in like the wrong crowd, right? Like, I brought my son. They're like, you got to stand up, you got to introduce yourself. I'm like, what kind of meet is this, right? And then I was like, oh, that's the last time I went to that. And then that's when I discovered Rod, right? Like, Rod, completely opposite, right? Like, he's completely the opposite of what the regular 356 owner is, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, those older guys would love to have one, but I mean, it's so out of reach for them.
Yeah. I feel like anytime like a pricey sports car comes out, it's usually owned by like executives or people leasing the car, or you know, somebody who doesn't really love it. You know, they just have the money and they just want a nice toy they can show off. And I always say, like, you know, the true enthusiasts don't come till like ownership 3 or 4, you know, because by the time you can actually afford one, they come down in price. And that's when like the people who dreamed about it for 10, 15 years are like, I finally get to have it, you know, which is all the, you know, that's the reason why I feel like late 80s and 90s are obviously blowing up right now, because people our age we're in position, you know, and all the things that we grew up, you know, wanting, you know, and when prices, like, you know, when I bought my NSX, that was in 2013, and that's when things were, you know, fairly cheap. And so I feel like now it's like everyone's, with new cars coming out, everyone's so sensitive to, well, like, I'm sensitive to that stuff. I don't like a car that drives for me, and, you know, it's got every muted sensory. And so, you know, I've only driven cars that were more manual based. And so that's where my love kind of came from, and still stays. But I never expected the whole, I mean, I don't think anybody expected prices just to go up. You know, somebody saying earlier, like, you know, when Rex bought his car, his Aero Blue one, he bought that for like $20K, and it, you know, it had a 3.8 in it and a new paint job. Like, it had the whole thing. And at the time he was like, this is expensive, you know, like, because 964s were like, you know, sub 15s, you know, and you know, I don't know if Rex drove one before he bought his car, but, you know, I didn't. Mine came from North Carolina. You know, I bought it sight unseen and never driven one. So, and for me, it's like, when I remember sometimes, like, somebody was making this comment on YouTube about how he was making this comment about how he said, well, all you guys who are just buying 964 now are a bunch of mainstream, you know, bandwagoners, this and that. And I was like, I didn't even know that the 964 was even a bandwagon car. I just saw, at the time, I saw that the price was, you know, within the price range that I wanted. I knew it was in the 90s, which is what I usually like. But, you know, for me, it's, you know, 964s just became a thing out of circumstance. And then I just ended up falling in love with it because I drove it and I was like, dude, I can affiliate with this car, you know? And so, but for whatever reason, 964 started taking off, and all of a sudden, it went from ugly duckling to car that everybody wants. And every car's got its quirk, but it's interesting to say what you said about your favorite 911. And then that's usually going to be followed up by your second favorite being
the GT3 RS.
The 991?
991. I mean, I don't have it anymore. I just sold it, but that car is complete opposite of a 964.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's like
on the racetrack. I mean, I'm for sure gonna get another one. I'm gonna get a cup car just for the racetrack. But because I really only drive it on the racetrack or to my office, which is 7 miles away, but there's no real reason for me to have one on the street. I wouldn't mind having one just for the racetrack because it's the fastest car out there, man. I mean, not the fastest. I'm sure there's faster cars, but it's the best handling car out there.
Yeah, it does everything very well. It's a precision knife, obviously, but and then the price of those are coming down a lot. They're priced really low right now.
Yeah,
like you can even find a lot under 100, which is a pretty insane deal.
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, you can get even cup cars cheap too.
Yeah, I know. There's a guy out here in Montclair who owns a shop, and he buys a bunch of them from Indonesia, and he brings them back and he starts restoring them, and he gets them super pretty cheap. So,
yeah.
So okay, let's get to some questions right now. I know the comment section is really blowing up right now. Have you owned a McLaren? Let me before he answers that, I already have his list. He has not owned a McLaren, not yet. So what's your thoughts on McLaren?
I actually came this close to buying a McLaren.
Which one?
It was just 570, but at the time, because I just got rid of this SLS, because it was super obnoxious. For my neighborhood, it's too crazy, right? Like the doors open and people think you're crazy. I don't know. It's just so loud. The McLaren would have been the same thing, so I ended up just getting a 997.2 GT3 instead. Okay. Yeah, but I love the drive. It was fast. I heard there's like a lot of quirks on those cars, so I didn't really want to deal with that. $7,000 battery change.
On the McLaren?
Yeah, 570.
Okay. Let's see. Is there? Somebody's asking, is there gonna be another super ill meet?
Let's do one, dude. We should. So what's funny? Like a lot of, one friend of mine. He's crazy. He's trying to throw a meet right now, just like mask and just stay in your car meet. But I'm like, I don't know, dude. We might get.
That's not gonna happen. People are definitely gonna get out of their cars for sure.
It's like Sam Do. He doesn't fucking stay home. He just keeps taking photos everywhere. I'm like, oh my god, dude, this guy's not staying. Just joking though, but he doesn't stay home. Crazy.
Yeah. There's no substitute. What? No love for the 997. I mean, people who know me know I love 997. That's my pick. 997. I love it. GT3.
I'll do a 997 Cup car. 997 Cup car is my. It'll be my first choice because it's cheaper than a 991, and it drives really good on the track.
Yeah. When I was at Homestead in Miami, the 997 Cup cars, man, they're frightening, man. They make you shit your pants, no joke.
Yeah. Yeah. I drove a F1 car at COTA, Circuit of the America, and that driving a open wheel, it will blow your mind at 170 miles per hour.
Hold up, but were you in a single driver cockpit F1 or were you with another? So okay, so how many laps did you do?
Not that many laps. We did quite a few, but not that many. But on the third lap, I spun out, and it's so embarrassing. When you spin out, they have to jump start you.
Oh shit!
If you kill the motor, so if you're spinning out, you gotta keep your rev up in order to go again. But I didn't because I lost track because it was raining at the time, and
You drove an F1 car in the rain. That's so crazy. What the hell?
Yeah, it was kind of nuts.
Okay, so that's interesting. Did you shit your pants?
When I spun out, yeah, because I wasn't really sure what to do. You know, like
What
they
happens
stopped.
when you drive an F1 car and you crash it?
Well, no, Coda is so big.
Yeah.
You if you crash at Coda, you
You,
cannot drive. Yeah.
so, so you did a couple laps. That must have been pretty amazing. I
Yeah,
mean,
dude. I think we got up to about 170 on the straight, but you know,
who's
like,
we?
well, I was following the Chase Formula One car. You have to
Okay,
follow,
got
you
it.
know, like he goes on your skill, but Formula One guys have neck muscles. I don't have neck muscles, dude. So my head was like going like down the straight. Seriously, you cannot keep your head straight unless you're a Formula One driver because you have these neck muscles.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Damn. All right. Well, let's do this. Our 1 hour is about to be up, so
Okay.
let's end this segment here,
All
and then
right.
I'll jump back on.
I'll put on my
And
change.
yeah,
Okay.
let's actually do a 5 minute break. That way you can get to drink and go to the bathroom. We'll start back up at 8 o'clock. It's 7:56 right now, so we'll start back in about 4 minutes. All
Okay.
right. So we'll see you guys in just a
Yo.
second. Yo. All right. So somebody wants to know what my buddy Teddy wants to know. Do you like Yoshinoya?
Oh, only in Japan.
Mark's a bougie Yoshinoya eater.
It's really good in Japan.
It is. It is. That's actually the first. When I went to Japan, that's the first place I went to, and
What?
I had it with a beer that cost like $1.50. That was
What?
really.
It's
You haven't had the
crazy.
beer there? Yeah, it's super funny. But you know the funny thing about Yoshinoya in Japan is that there's so many little shops like Yoshinoya that like you can go into that taste better. It's just Yoshinoya is just kind of like a random. What's that? A life vest?
Yeah, it's my Supreme Life Vest. Just in case it floods in here.
At least you can go down looking good.
Yeah. I bought all this fucking Supreme shit, and now they stole the sign in San Francisco at the store last
Wait.
night.
Oh shit! Because of nobody's there.
Yeah, they're robbing all these stores now.
Damn, dude, that's dirty, man. All right, Eric's bringing up a good question. 964 versus 355. Before you answer that question, I want to see if I can guess how that what you're gonna say. I'm
Okay.
thinking you're gonna say that the 355 is a cool car, but it's not as cool as the 964. It's definitely flashy, but maintenance is obviously going to be. I don't know if you had to do any maintenance yet, but obviously maintenance is going to be a major component to ownership. I don't know if you've owned it long enough. You've had it what, like less than a year or a year or so?
Yeah. I will. Let me answer that for you. To change an oil line
Ooh, here we go.
costs $1,700.
Wow.
So if you got it, get one. They're really cool cars, but I don't know. You guys can buy mine. It's for sale right now.
See, there you have it. 964. That's what he's
Yeah,
saying.
no. So I sold my 3.8. I had a 3.8. I bought it from Jason Rotiform. You know,
Okay.
Rotiform Jason.
Yeah.
Something his wife was angry. His car's been in the garage for so long. It's in 1,000 pieces. And at that time, I bought Brian's teal 964. Brian Rotiform.
Okay.
I wired him $60,000, right? I said, I'm going to buy your car. He goes, hell yeah. I wired him money. And he had second thought. He was like, no, I'm not going to sell it anymore. I'm like, fuck. I was already excited, right? Because I loved his car, right? He built it in Europe. He had it repainted, did all this crazy stuff. And then he said, oh, but Jason's going to sell his. You should buy Jason's. It's cheap. It's half the price. I'm like, shit, really? He goes, but it's in 1,000 pieces. I'm like, fuck it. I'll buy it, right? So I buy it. I drop it off to Len's. Len's like, oh my God, it's just like 1,000 pieces. Literally 1,000 pieces, right? And Len put it back together for like $2,000, and I ended up selling it to a friend in Florida for crazy money because it skyrocketed. 964 went like this, and then the 3.8 was tuned. It was nice. I ended up buying it back like maybe a month ago. I just finished paying it off. Well, I'm paying it. I'm gonna pay it off tomorrow, or whenever. But yeah, it should be here any day now. It's already on the truck.
Which one? Your white one?
Yeah, the white 3.8.
Oh, I thought you already had that in your possession.
No,
So,
those are old photos. This is me thinking ahead.
Okay.
So I bought some wheels. I already bought some wheels for it. I'm ready to swap it over. Should be cool.
So, kind of going back to your list, we never finished this up, but Porsche, then Toyota. You've had some 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Toyotas, two AE86s, 2 Land Cruisers, Tacoma AE8, another AE86. But you had a current FRS, and then a 4Runner and another 4Runner. So, and then after that, you had a bunch of V-dubs. So some 59, 60s, a bunch of 60 stuff, 80s, 2015, and a notchback, a 66 notchback. So,
yeah.
So you have a panel bus right now, a 1964 panel bus.
Yeah. Sliding door. So sliding doors are rare.
So what's the deal with this? The sliding door.
It's like it's like saying Carrera RS, right? There's like 3 in the United States.
So was yours customized, or is that how?
No, it came like that. Yeah.
The top and everything.
Oh, the top is from a 21 window. Somebody grafted a top on top.
Okay.
And then so that shouldn't be there, but it's okay.
So on top of that, a Cayenne, a 911, the 964 is on its way. What's your plan with the 964?
Just to change the wheels. Probably. I was thinking of taking the roll cage out so I could bring my kids to school in it, like make it a daily driver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
But it's okay. I might not do that. I might just whatever.
Okay. So your passion for cars started around 14. You got into V-dubs, tapped into JDM a little bit, gone to different types of cars. RWB, like, how did you come across that? Like, well, you know what? We'll save that for another one in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
You wanted to bring up the question about changing topics now. You want to bring up the topic about Instagram and whether people are doing it for themselves or if they're doing it for the gram. And now that's really an interesting question, because I think that question was probably different a few years ago than it is maybe now.
Mm-hmm.
But tell us, like, for you, who are you doing it for?
For me, I think what's funny is, like, I think people that got into Instagram really early got quite a huge following. Yeah. Just because if they were traveling, if they were doing a lot of builds, if they were doing whatever, people would gravitate to people that kind of did that, right? I think it's different these days. I think a lot of kids or people that are building cars for, like, SEMA, for example, they do it definitely to gain exposure for their brand, their personal brand, right? I mean, I have a personal brand, but I kind of personally, I kind of steered away from doing that kind of stuff because it wasn't really. I let the company people do that through our brand, but personally, I kind of do things for myself because I don't, I'm not selling anything unless it's my car or some other random bullshit, right? But
yeah,
I think it's whatever makes me happy, because Instagram is really supposed to be your diary, right? Like your diary of what you've done throughout the life, or your life, or whatever you really inspired to be, or what's inspiring you, right? I think that's really what Instagram should be for. I think a lot of people are just doing, I mean, it's up to them. They could do whatever they want, but
sure.
A lot of people are doing things because
They're
You
trying
know,
to get famous.
fuck, I didn't get 5,000 likes. You know what I mean? Like, who cares? They're not paying your bills. Or maybe they are they?
Yeah, maybe they are. Some chicks that they're getting their bills paid that way, you know. Um,
I don't
you know,
know.
for me, I think it's one of those things. I think it's always a push and pull
Yeah.
between doing it for the gram and doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
Because at the same time, if you're just doing it for yourself all the time, you might just take pictures and leave it on your phone. So I think it's like you want to share it with the right people,
Yeah.
right? You want to
Of
share it with
course.
people that are going to have the same passion for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so but I think there are obviously people who just want to do it for numbers and
Hmm.
want clout and stuff. But I think kind of going back to like the early days of Instagram, back then, like a lot of stuff, like, people are using bots and stuff. People were like super crazy about like getting huge numbers, and there was hella fake accounts. And I think today a lot of us know that like older accounts are struggling right now to, get the engagement and the following and stuff, because, those accounts are so old that the algorithm is probably like, pushing them to the back. And it's
Yeah.
really tough to, I think at the end of the day, it's about trying to do something that you love, but do it in a way that's authentic. You know what I'm saying? That's genuine. That doesn't make it seem like people that you're not just doing it just to say, hey, look, like I know this is gonna get hella likes, or not hella likes, or whatever the case is. And you just want to show people that, hey, look, I love this, and if you love it too, dope. If not,
Yeah.
fucking, whatever. So
Yeah. I mean, personally, I like sharing things that excite me, right? Like, fuck, houses excite me all day long. I mean, I would
yeah,
post houses all day if I can, but it's hard to find really good houses. But
and boobs.
yeah, big ones. No, just joking. I'm
You
not into the big ones.
like the mid-sized ones, the C's.
Huh? Everyone asking what kind of chips I'm eating these chips.
Mark, you really disappointed me right now by not showing us shrimp chips, bro. I'm gonna have
What
my
else?
wife bringing me
What
some
else?
shrimp chips.
I don't know what else I can show you. Like,
Yeah, show us around, because everyone's curious about all your like crazy
oh
$100,000 toys and skateboards over there.
yeah, it's like a surfboard. Oh wait, where's surfboard? Just some bikes. I got like a gazillion bikes up there.
Okay, how much is that bike worth in the back wall? Because that's probably like worth $80,000.
It's like
It's GT3 money.
like 14 or something like that.
Damn. Is that an art piece, or is it actually functional?
No, I ride that bike. It's just on the wall right now. That's where it parks.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah. Anyways, so quick note. I mean, do shit for yourself, but obviously do it so that you can find other people who love it like you. And fuck the
Yeah.
bullshit, right? That's just
Yeah. Doesn't even matter, man. Like I meet so many people, and everyone's story is super genuine when they introduce themselves. Like they talk about their car and like really interested because they're into the same cars I'm into, right? They're into the same cars you're into. I think everyone has a cool story.
well, we would like to think that. Some people are just dickheads. So,
Yeah.
all right, moving on. What car would you buy for $10,000?
I don't know if this is worth 10,000 or it might be more, but I would buy an S2000 right now because
You
my
can buy
daughter, the second one, that's her car because I told them they can only pick a car from Initial D for their first car.
That's a pretty good requirement.
And she picked the Suzuki. It's some super small Suzuki, but they don't sell it here in the U.S. So she picked the S2000.
Like a AP1?
One or two, it doesn't matter. Any of them.
Oh,
But
she hasn't picked one yet.
no. We're gonna get one. It's a blue one. We're trying to find a blue one right now.
Suzuka.
Yeah.
Suzuka blue.
Sarah Choi. You know Sarah Choi?
I know of her. I don't know her.
She has a friend that has a really nice blue one that I don't know it's for sale, but
Is it in SoCal?
let me know. Huh?
Is it in SoCal?
Yeah, SoCal.
Is it owned by a dude?
Yeah, it's owned by. It looks just like hers. She has a yellow one.
Okay, yeah. Hers actually, that's actually my favorite color is Rio yellow or signal yellow. Just
Yeah.
any type of amberous yellow is like my favorite. Um, Actually, I would potentially sell my NSX to buy a Rio 04, 05 NSX. That would be my original pick, but
Wait, do you have an NSX still?
yeah, I sell it.
Oh shit! I thought you sold it already.
Yeah, I'll never sell it unless it's maybe for a Rio
Didn't I
yellow.
ask? Didn't I try to buy it off you or?
You did, yeah. You're trying to buy that maybe like 5 years ago, maybe
Yeah.
5 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like Darren and them, they were like, "Oh, Drew's got one," and but yeah, it's I bought that car. I was telling you earlier, I bought that from Burlingame from an old Japanese guy. Actually, I'm gonna get his address because I want you to go visit him. So the reason why, so interesting story about the NSX is, um, I bought that in 2013. This guy hits me up and says, "Hey man, I'm selling an '02 NSX." I put up a want to buy ad on NSX Prime.
Uh-huh.
And he hits me up and goes, "Hey man, I'm selling a '02 white NSX." And I thought it was a a scammer ad because one, I
Yeah.
was like, white doesn't really exist, and two, it was an '02, which it was out of my price range.
Yeah.
Start talking to this guy, and really cool guy, and find out he's really like legit. And what ends up happening is he was kind of looking for somebody to take over the car that he felt like he could trust. And after like he felt like I was asking all the right questions and stuff, I went up finally to go meet him, and I was like, "Yo, why, Ken?" I was like, "Why are you selling this car?" And
Uh-huh.
he said, "Let me show you." So on his driveway, he had this car that was covered up,
Yeah.
and he pulls the cover off, and it's a early NA1 coupe, but it's just a shell. And now, like everyone knows that the NSX is made of aluminum, and a lot of people want the coupe with the 3.2 and 6 speed, but what ended up happening was Superstorm Sandy in New York flooded this NA1, and it
Ooh.
was never in an accident; it was just flooded. And somebody went out and parted this whole entire car, and what ended up happening was his buddy, who was a car broker, um, hit him up and said, "Yo, there's this NSX shell for 5 grand, never in an accident. Do you want to buy
What?
it?"
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my
And he
god.
was like, "Dude, yes." So he went out and bought it.
Put that in
And
my room.
what ended up happening was he went out and bought it, and um, he went out and bought it, and he didn't have enough money to build a car. And so what ended up happening was he had to sell that car to build his coupe. And so that's the reason why I got into them, or he hit me up about it. So I think overall, when you're looking for a car, it's obviously the story and the journey is really interesting.
Hmm.
And that car, it was like at a time where it was over my budget and all this stuff, but
Yeah.
ended up kind of happening. So that car became really sentimental for me for many different reasons. But the cool thing about him is he's this old Japanese engineer, and on his street he also has an EG with a K series in it. He's got like all these crazy ass Hondas,
I want an
and
easy.
dude, it's wild, man. And he basically goes back and forth to Japan all the time and gets
Yeah.
crazy cars.
Yeah.
And so, for me, like in Burlingame, when we went, it was really cool to kind of be a part of that process. But I think overall, I got into it at a time where like timing was perfect for me, and now the market's just crazy. But
Yeah.
and so I'm trying to read the comments at the same time. Somebody just said NS6 is JDM 964, not fast but amazing driving experience.
I love the NSX, to be honest. I would love to buy another one.
Yeah, it is. You've owned. Let me see. On the list, you owned a 90, 90, and a 94. So you had all the NA ones.
Hmm.
No, you had a 291, 290s, and you had a 94 Integra. Uh, what color? Oh, it was a red and a black one.
Yeah, red and black one. I
Did
love the
you?
black. I bought the black one off some dude, and Yogi.
Mm-hmm.
So I texted Yogi and go, "Hey Yogi, can you meet this one guy? He's like in Malibu, right? Like we went to that one place where Fast and Furious 8, I don't know, some fish place, right?
Yeah.
I bought the car right there. It was crazy. Like, and I drove it home. He picked me up, and then we drove it home. It's crazy.
Wow. So
it was cheap, like 32,000 or 28,000 or something. Pretty cheap at that time.
You bought it. So you must have bought it pre 2013 then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago. It was missing a bunch of carpet. The guy was gonna race it. You know, just a whole bunch of things were missing. But I thought the price was good and the body was straight. So, you know, you could always like improve on that.
Yeah, because when I was looking at the time, I think the lowest price one that wasn't an accident, I seen one go for like 24,000.
Oh shit!
And then there were a couple that had accidents that were selling for like salvaged ones. That was selling for like 18,000. And so, what's up, Randy? But yeah, I think you know, when they were getting that cheap, like even 16,000, I even saw one for 16,000 that had an accident in it.
Oh my God.
And I almost bought a 97 NSX for, at the time, he wanted 24,000, and then I found out that it was salvaged.
Yeah.
And then
I'd race a salvage one though.
I would too. You know, I would still think like, but you know what? I ended up finding the guy who ended up crashing the car, and I asked him, "Yo, would you ever buy that car back?" And he was like, "Nah, man. He wrecked it at the track." He said he went into the wall at the track, and he said that like the frame, like he said, it just ended up kind of crumpling, and he was like, "Man, I wouldn't trust it." So my buddy Randy started painting cars, and he just painted his S2000 Championship white. So he's been kind of pressuring me to do mine Champ white. But I don't know. I feel like going from Grand Prix white to Championship white, I mean, even though the color difference is massive, I still feel like I don't know if I can pull the trigger spending all that money on a white to white car.
No, I don't know. I don't know if I would, because it came Championship white, right?
Mine is Grand Prix white. So
it came Grand Prix white.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't fuck with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's too close, and I think if the car was way jacked.
NSXs, to me, it's almost like an RS, like Carrera RS, right? I think it's not that many made, so I don't know why you mess with it.
Yeah. So what car would you buy at $100,000 mark?
Right now? I'd buy a McLaren 650.
Those are going for under 100, huh?
They're going for around 100 something now. Around 120 or something. Is it okay?
You're over 20%, bro. That's not allowed.
100. I don't know. I'm not sure.
I would get a 997 GT3. That's
I
had it. I owned it. I loved it. You know, and you can get those for like 80 right now.
No, 997 GT3 is cheap. But I'm saying 991 GT3 you can get for 100. So
you're right. Yeah, you can't. No,
it's
because
a better driver.
No, because the thing is, like, I'd rather have a manual transmission, and I like the analog feel of the 997 more than the 991. Because the 991 feels to me like, because I drove Veron's car, and it felt Japanese in a sense, because it felt super like
Skyline.
No, because he had a manual, but the thing is, like, the clutch was super light, and the gearbox was super light. It felt Japanese. And the 997 feels more like robust. You know, the 997 feels like you have to put your clutch foot down. It is way more.
Yeah. It's
more engaging for me.
Yeah.
So,
so I mean, I'm thinking only track. I would beat you every day in a 991, right?
Yeah.
But if we're just driving around the street, 997 is the one to have.
Yeah. So for me, like, as much as I would like to be at the track, I know that in my real life scenario, I could probably be at the track maybe twice a year. And for me, it's like I wouldn't have a car that I knew that it's that capable, because I would never be able to, like, just be able to utilize it, you know?
Yeah.
So, and for me, like, you know, I rather, that's the reason why I rather still have, that's the reason why my cars, I like to make them more street cars, because I know that having a track car on the street and not ever going to the track is kind of, to me, kind of defeats the purpose. So
no, you have the problem with the track, you really have to make time for the track.
Yeah.
You gotta put it in your schedule.
It's a lifestyle for sure.
Put it in your schedule. That's it. Don't break your schedule.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's the reason why I kind of stay more street focused
Mm-hmm.
versus, and for me, it's like I always feel like there's show, there's track, and then there's kind of like in the middle, which is functional show, right? It's kind of like you want your car to look good, but also want my car to perform well. And
Yeah.
so my thing is I'm trying to do something that is a hybrid and not a sacrifice of either. And that's the reason why I'm spending so much time like trying to get the right suspension for my 964,
Uh-huh.
because I don't want to have a 964 that's just slammed and then just drives like shit. You
Wait,
know.
what do you mean? Drives like shit.
So like when you like my 89, my very first one that I had was slammed, and it was on H&R coilovers, and
Which
it had
H&Rs?
H&R just their standard coilovers,
Okay.
and it had crazy bump steer. The suspension geometry was like wrecked just because it was so low.
Mm-hmm.
And when I get my everything like set up properly, I'm gonna have it set up so that it can be functionally low but also drive
Yeah,
low.
that's the thing I like really stress on whenever I build a 911 is a suspension.
Yeah.
And the best suspension for 964 is the H&R low
The
whatever it's
deeps,
called.
the
The
deeps,
what?
the deeps,
I don't know.
H&R deeps.
Whatever the one that Brian from
Yeah.
Rotiform and them
Those are
created,
deeps. Yep.
that's the best suspension for 964.
So here's the thing, like I was trying to get the deeps because of how functional they are at low,
Mm-hmm.
but they're super pricey for what you get. And I was trying to work a deal, and I got very close.
Well, let's get you a deal.
Well, here's the thing. I ended up pulling the trigger on MCS,
Mm.
a custom set of MCS that has very similar specs, ride height, and
Yeah.
the suspension setting as the deeps. So they already came in. I just had to get the right springs, and then we're going to do a test fitting on them and see how they go.
Nice.
So, and their price probably a little bit higher than where the H&R Deeps would be at.
Uh-huh.
But, and then also Redline sent me a bunch of suspension upgrades. So
Good.
hopefully with all of those things combined, that I'll get a good ride height and a good functional driving
Yeah.
process.
I mean, like on my 930s, all the early G bodies, I would spend like 15,000 on suspension. Like go all out, right? Elephant racing everything or whatever, that once you put that stuff, it drives like a 964. It's crazy, but you do have to spend quite a lot of money to get it there.
Yeah.
But once you do, I mean, those things handle like super well.
Yeah. So I think, my buddy has a 89 G body G50, and I drove it for 12 hours. And yeah,
Why?
and he loves, because we were doing a rally, like an all-day rally all through like the LA area.
That's
And
tiring.
it was super hot, like we were sweating balls, and
Oh.
and I drove it, and he wanted me to drive it hard, which I did. And man, I gotta say, it's a momentum car, right? It doesn't have a lot of low down torque like the 964 does, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a cool car, but man, like every time I drive the 964, like I kind
Yeah.
of fall in love with it all over again,
Yeah.
And so, but in comparison to the NSX, like I always say, like the NSX still, functionally, it's just a way better car, and it's just been put together way better. But I don't know, I just something about the 964 that's still very special, and so I love driving. I still love driving that car. So,
Yeah.
um, what was I gonna say? Who's on here?
Wooster is here.
Is he?
That guy is very detailed and meticulous. I kind of like watching him work.
Man, it's so crazy because like I love the Civic Type R, and we just can't get that here. And to watch him take it apart and put it together, man, it's wild. It's so crazy.
I mean, I'm pretty meticulous guy. That guy takes it like 10 levels over here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Worcester's like he's crazy, and then it just looks like he's just kind of like doo-doo-doo, like just
we have some friends that I don't even know what they do, like Verone. I don't know what that guy does.
I have a live chat with him on Saturday. We will press him to see, but I doubt we're gonna get an answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right. See what else we got here. Okay, so I had 100,000. Some people are bringing up some interesting cars. 997 Turbo, which is also a great. Yeah, leave that on.
Okay.
A 997 Turbo is a great. You know what? That's 100% a great option, because you can buy those for like under 70 and have tons of money left over for mods. And batter up. Somebody said a Gen 1 R8 V10 gated, but you know what? I'm straight on to Audis, man. I've driven them, and I'm just not a fan.
So Audis, I was searching Craigslist or BRZO for an Audi R8 yesterday because those prices are crazy cheap, right?
Yeah.
But I had one before, and I thought it was a nice daily driver, but I don't know, it's just
Yeah,
like a whatever.
it's a comfortable, it's like, I mean, you had an '09. How long did you have that for?
About a year and a half.
And
Yeah.
where were you daily commuting to the office?
7 miles.
Barely even warmed up.
I didn't really use it. I got a GT3 after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny because I remember hearing, I've got some of these guys, they have a YouTube channel, and they're saying like one of the guys, he was like, I hate 911s. They're just too easy to love.
Huh?
And I get it, like, and they kind of are, right? Because they do everything so well. And so, and he was just like, I want something a little bit more challenging, and I want something more unique in that sense. But, for me, I think it's hard to find a car, even at the price points they're at now, that does as well. Longhead, 901.
Yeah. 72.
Do you keep?
I have a lot of steering wheels in here.
Yeah, we can see that. Are those records on the bottom? On the shelf?
Yeah, those are my records. I used to DJ a long
Once a
time
DJ,
ago.
always a DJ.
Yeah.
All right, so the next question is $500,000. If it's just one car, not multiple cars, what car would that be?
Just one car?
Just one car.
Right now, probably the Sport Turismo. I love that car.
Sport Turismo.
The Panamera. The station wagon.
What are those going for?
They go from 110 to 210.
So you're gonna have all that money left over.
What do you mean?
Because you're gonna have one car, like if you have up to $500,000, you're gonna buy a car like at half the price.
Oh, a $500,000 car? I wouldn't buy one. It's too expensive. I wouldn't.
Let's say it was gifted to you. Somebody was like, Mark, you're awesome. We're gonna give you a car, any car at $500,000.
I don't even know if $500,000. Maybe what do you call those? Carrera GT? Are those $500,000?
Carrera GTs. I think. Well, I think the Mirage because the Mirage that was crashed recently, they're saying that was valued at, they're saying that was valued at 750. I don't know if they're valued more or less. I don't know if you guys know, but what's a Mirage GT worth and what's a regular Carrera GT worth? I want to see what you guys say, but
you guys want to hear something?
Bring it on.
Okay, so I'm gonna advertise right now, real quick. So I have a friend selling his Porsche collection because he's selling it for his dad. His dad, too old. He doesn't want to drive manual cars anymore. He has a Carrera GT and all 993s, like 7 993s, all under 10,000 miles. If anyone wants it, let me know. One of them Seinfeld's old cars too.
Wow. Well, get your paychecks ready.
If you're into 993s,
So, okay, so people are saying a CGT is worth about $1 million.
Damn.
So the question is a Gambala Mirage GT worth less than a stock Carrera GT? I'm assuming it probably maybe, but
Why? Because it's been chopped up?
Yeah, but you know what? Gambala's stuff is like kind of out there, so I don't think it appeals to a lot of people.
Was he
Or
on
like
drugs? Do you know that? Do you know if he was on drugs?
most likely, probably, yeah.
Probably, huh?
Because you know he's like he made his fortune like during the '80s, I believe. So like I think everybody was on coke back in the day. I mean,
Yeah.
have you seen? I've seen when I was at 911 Design. I saw some of the cars they were taking apart. Was a Gambala one. The side mirrors. This was like an old late '90s or a late '80s car, and they had he already had cameras in the mirror. He didn't on the side mirrors. He didn't
What?
even have mirrors. He had a camera, and they were taking the cameras out because like you know they wanted to bring the car up to contemporary standards, and it's crazy to see that what he was doing back then. You had to have been on like mushrooms or something, or like LSD or
I don't
so.
know.
JV says
997 talk. What is that?
so. JV said Mirage is about 1 million, and a stock CGT is worth about 700. So interesting. All right, so maybe it is worth more. Um,
Well, well, here's my thing with Verone. I was telling him, I
I love
hope Ben,
Morocco.
I hope Ben gets some help because if you're addicted to something, whatever it is, you gotta really take care of that.
Amen, man.
Yeah.
Hopefully he gets it. So here's my pick for the car.
Yeah. What is it?
I would get, and they dropped in price a bit, but I would get, because I love 997 so much, I would get a 997 4.0. So,
Oh,
and those are right, I think those are around 450 right now.
yeah.
So,
My name,
GT3 RS 4.0.
a neighbor of Jeff Swart. He used to
Mm-hmm.
live next door to my parents.
Uh-huh.
He had one of those. His was nice, a navy blue one or a blue one. Super.
Actually, you know what? That's so funny because Jeff, I had people ask questions to ask you today, and Jeff asked me a question. I had no idea what it meant, but he said something about neighbors, so I'm gonna bring that question up in just a bit.
Okay.
But okay, so let's see. Let me see if I can get to the questions. This is kind of new, so let me actually look for Jeff's question right here. Jeff said, "Name one neighbor you met through your parents."
I
Is
met
that the
him. You want to hear how I met him?
Yes.
My dad goes like this. Hey, Mark, you got to meet my next door neighbor. He has a lot of Porsches like you. I said, really? Who's this guy? He goes, he's an older guy. I'm like, oh, okay. So like 5 months pass. And I'm like, Mark, you got to meet our neighbor. I'm like, yeah, I know, but he's never there when I'm here. Like, I mean, how am I supposed to meet him? Well, he gave you this book. And I looked, and I was like, oh, shit, Jeff Swart. How would I know that's your neighbor, Dad? You got to tell me his name. I don't know his name, right? So then I see Jeff pull up in his blue convertible 356. It's probably worth 200, I don't know, 150. And then he pulls up. I'm like, oh, my goodness. This guy's like famous, right? And after that, we became really good friends.
So wait, when Jeff lived up there or down here?
Yeah,
or?
he lived up there. So he lived up in Tiburon, where my parents live. But he also had a 700-acre ranch. And he built a rally course around the whole ranch. And I went to it, and he was driving. Oh, dude, it was amazing. And the house that was there, he had both houses at the same time. And the house was there. That was there. Everyone would live for that house, die for that house.
I gotta say, I think Jeff Swart is probably the most interesting man outside of Forrest Gump. I think Jeff is probably the most interesting man. It's so crazy. He's had like the craziest life. It's insane. I don't know if Jeff's in here right now. If you are, like, I gotta do a follow up with Jeff at some point. But Jeff
You
is
should.
like, Jeff is insane. Super
He's
crazy.
so nice. We were texting each other about Panamera Sport Turismos recently before I picked mine up, because I was like, I always get advice from him. I'm like, hey, should I get a Macan? He goes, this is the best car I've ever driven. I go, should I get a Sport Turismo? This is the best car I've ever driven. I'm like, what? Fuck.
He just has he does he say that to make everybody feel good or what? Or does it
No. I mean, Sport Turismo is cool. It's not the fastest, but it's really nice car for the family.
Wow. All right. Well, that's a cool story.
Yeah.
All right. Next story. Next question. So Verone wants to know, what is in Mark's driving playlist?
Well, today's driving playlist was all about modern rock. Like
Modern rock.
Cure, Depeche Mode, New Order. But you got to remember, my drive is 7 miles, so you don't get that much music in 7 miles.
You know, you can take a detour, so you can take the longer route.
I do that, and I get about 6 songs, and I'm good. Yeah.
All right, next question.
That's pretty cool, the question thing. I like that.
Yeah, I think it started coming up. Okay, this one question says, this question is for both of you. Given the current situation in the world, I noticed lots of budget Porsches got cheaper. Is now a good time to buy before the market goes back?
Well, here's my answer, then you can answer. But I think Porsches, there's going to be always a lot of good deals, no matter what, given what market we're in. You just have to find them and know the right people. That's pretty much it. Because you're going to get, in 2 weeks from now, when people are like super struggling, because this shit's going to last for another month and a half, right? I think people are going to say, oh my goodness, fuck, I need some money, right? Because they're going to get nervous. So they got to think ahead of time and figure out when they're going to sell their car, or they're going to sell whatever, right? Like the other day, I mean, like just the other week, I was selling, I'm still selling all my cars, but it's not because of that. I'm remodeling my house. But people are like, oh, how come you're selling all your cars? But it's not because of that, right? Like I'm trying to buy some appliances and shit.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like I think people are definitely going to get nervous, and you might get some really good deals.
You know, I said that on our last, with my last live with Ozzy, and I was telling him, actually it wasn't with Ozzy, it was with, I forgot who I was talking to. I was talking to him about 964s.
You said swipe the question away.
Whatever
that means.
It's still there. Well, my thing is, I feel like the market is going to shift for sure. And I said last time that I don't think the market is going to get any higher than it is now. Oh yeah, thanks, Chris. It was with Keith. I was telling him I don't think the market is getting any hotter than it is now. So this is absolutely the peak. But depending on how desperate people get, that's how far we know it'll come down.
Yeah. No. Yeah. You're right.
So I think is it a good time? Yeah, I think if you save money and wait 6 months to a year, I think you'll find a lot of great deals. So
yeah.
All right.
I mean, it's all timing.
Yeah, everything is timing. So okay, so biggest changes in the automotive scene from when he got into it till now. So did you go to all of the Hot Import Night type stuff?
I went to Hot Import Nights in the beginning, probably for about, at most, 2 years. Because I have vertigo from DJing when I was a young kid. So if I listen to loud music, I might collapse on you. You know what I mean? And so Hot Import Nights is all about as loud as you can possibly be. And I wasn't into that at all.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we talked about this last time when I was talking to Ozzy, because we're talking about right now how things are kind of shifting from, like, let's say car shows to car meets. Mm-hmm. The fact that meets are so much more easier. You can just show up for a few hours and then take off. You don't have to be there all freaking day. Drop off your car and then just sit there and, you know, whatever the case is. But there are people who professionally tour shows. And so I feel like right now what's happening is the scene is just diversifying, because you'll still have people who do shows, and you have people who just do meets or Canyon Carve or whatever the case is, or side shows or whatever the hell it is. And so I think with social media, more and more people are just getting on. And, you know, it's funny right now, you know, between RMC and Vanquish, they're talking about how they're saying that people – I mean, they're still seeing people spend money. And right now, we're not arguing that the market is still not hot. What I'm trying to say is, I mean, all of this, we're only in 3 weeks. And right now, people still have money. Yeah. But what we're saying is in 6 months, if shit doesn't get corrected, and people freaking don't have money or they start losing their jobs, that's when we'll start seeing a correction happen. But right now, yeah, people are still spending money and they're looking for deals. I mean, people still hit me up all the time. Yo, can you help me find a 964? And my answer always is no, man. Like, cause it takes freaking so much time to find a 964. Like, I can't help you with that. Like, you gotta get out there and look, you know? And so, yeah, I'm sure people are still spending money and still buying cars. The question is how long will this recession or the stay-at-home thing stay around? So
I helped Vanquish get his latest 964 for under 30.
you're talking about the Oak?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, Mo.
Oh wait, I'm not supposed to say the number. Sorry.
Must be nice, GG. Okay,
right, sorry, Mo.
So this is my buddy right here. My buddy.
Oh my God.
So before you say anything, my buddy Eddie, you know, he's got some nice cars. This is what I say. My thing is, the only people who talk about Ford Fiestas are people who own Ford Fiestas. But everybody who owns a Ford Fiesta talks about how great of a car they are. And I said, you know what the problem is that nobody cares about talking about Ford Fiestas. And I'm not saying that just to be a dick, but the problem is that nobody cares. I mean, like, what's your take on it?
No. Let me tell you. When I was growing up, I didn't have money, right? And I worked super hard. But when I was younger, a Ford Fiesta looked awesome to me. You know why? Because it had the same flares as the M3, E30 M3.
Ford Fiesta? Like what year was that?
I don't know. I don't know what year that was. Maybe 90? I don't know. But it had flares, and I was like, wow, that looks like an E30 M3, but a really small one. You don't remember that?
No, a Fiesta?
I don't know. Like, was it a Fiesta? Yeah, it's a fucking Fiesta.
Or was it a Focus? No, you're talking about Fiesta. They've been around. You're talking about like 80s and 90s.
I'll text you it.
Or maybe
I'll put it on my stories later tonight. I'll pick one up.
But don't tag me.
I'll do a Photoshop and I'll put it on my stories.
Tag Eddie like the Jetsons. All right, so let's see. So Jay asked, "What's the next collector car?" See, but then if you tell everybody, I mean, but the thing is, you know, even if people know, like, not everyone can find a collector car because they might be hard to find.
For sure.
So most of that was the Escort. So the Escort's different than the Fiesta. Yeah, the Escort actually was pretty cool for what it is.
No,
but
it wasn't
not a
an
Fiesta.
Escort. It was a Fiesta, man.
No, it wasn't an Escort. No, he's right. It is an Escort.
No, I'm gonna Photoshop one and I'll put it on my stories. Damn it!
It is not, dude. Nobody cares. Look, I'm just saying. Look, the Fiestas might be a cool driving car.
No.
So was my Honda.
Watch when I fix it up. Everyone will buy a fucking Fiesta in like 2 months. Not just playing.
Dude, do it. I just want to see who talks about Fiestas.
No,
the next collector car.
I know it.
Okay, what are you gonna say?
No, you go first. I'll go second.
I mean, there's so many cars we're gonna talk about, but since I'm Porsche based, I'm just gonna say, 996, 997s are probably starting to creep up there, because right now I think a lot of 996s have been priced well for such a long time, and I see a lot of people getting into them. You know what I'm saying? And you know what? I'm sorry. Before I go on, collector. The word collector is an interesting term. It's a car that people are buying to drive.
Don't say 997.
Why? Because you don't want it to go up.
Because it's gonna go up.
I know but you know what? The thing is, I feel like right now 997 market is soft. So you know,
it's the perfect time. To be honest, it's the perfect time to buy 997.
Yeah,
if anyone's gonna buy a Porsche and if you buy a 996 and show it to me, I'm going to say, why didn't you buy a 997? Because it's probably $5,000 more dollars.
Yeah, I agree. But, you know, for me, like, if you can get a GT3 for, like, $80K, you know, and a regular Carrera or Carrera S is going for 45 or 50.
Fuck, 35.
Or Carrera S?
Yeah, 37.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would say at that point, like, dude, just see if you can get a loan for, for more money. Like I wouldn't. I would just say just go for as much as you can. It would go beyond for more than you can,
Yeah.
because I just feel like 997, it will always be like a classic. It'll always be a future classic.
It is.
Um,
It is. That's the next 964 for sure.
yeah. Well, and the other thing too is like everybody, a lot of people here are saying 997.2s. Everybody
Doesn't
loves
matter.
point twos, but the thing is, like, I'm just a big fan of point ones because I love the 5 lug. I don't like the center locks. There's a lot of things about the point twos that aesthetically I'm not really in tune to, but that's better for me
Yeah, I like it.
because, yeah, it's just better for me because like I like them more, and then they're also cheaper. But I've always said this to one of my buddies, but I always said at some point I always feel like the 997.1 will get higher than point twos, and he wanted to beg to differ, but for me, I hope it just stays cheaper because in the future I'll buy as many as I can get because I just love them, and
Yeah.
so yeah. Um, okay, so what the hell were we talking about?
Hard.
Uh, oh no, we're talking. Oh, we're doing questions. All right, so that was the next collector car. So, okay, let's get to one more question. Let's see. Jollibee's Illest next collab.
I would
Um,
love to do one.
hey,
You know,
you can make it happen.
yeah, Apple. Apple from Black Eyed Peas.
I don't know him, but
So
I
he
know.
he owns a few Jollibees. We could definitely do a collab with him. Like I said, hit him up.
Oh, that'll be fun. So somebody wants to know. Um, man, there's a lot of questions here. Okay, here, let's do this one. My buddy Randy wanted to ask. For you, Singer or Gunther Works?
Um, I mean, I'm more of a older
964 guy?
older school guy, but I appreciate the carbon fiber of Gunther Works. Their lines really line up. I mean, it fucking lines up. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You know,
Can you show us again closer? Oh.
the carbon fiber from the hood, fender, and the bumper, everything's perfect. It's crazy.
All right. So let me answer that question. For me, I've driven the Gunther Works. Peter sent it to me for 24 hours. And the Rossport engine, I liked it a lot. Some of my buddies drove it, and they were kind of like, whatever. I thought it was great. I've never driven a Singer, so I can't really compare it. But so yeah, I mean, they're saying that Singer also makes CF, but
Yeah, I know.
but you know what? Not every single Gunther Works is carbon.
Oh, really?
So yeah. Well, I mean, at least that's what I think.
Oh,
But
I don't know. I mean,
maybe
but between Singer and Gunther Work, I'd probably get one of Rod's cars.
yeah. Somebody said an Emery thing, which you know what? When I drive old, um, when I drive old VWs,
Yeah.
they really scare me because the braking on the VWs
Oh,
are
yeah.
like super spongy, and you got to brake at least 100 feet before the red light.
You should drive my bus.
Well, is it the same, or
Well,
is it
my bus
upgraded?
has like a 914 motor, dude. Shit's fast.
Okay, so hold on.
But
I just
I got disc brakes, so you'll be able to stop.
okay. I definitely want to drive it. But what Scott is saying right now, actually, that would be my pick between if there was three of them, would be Roof,
Oh.
Singer, and Gunther would be Roof. I mean, I
Yeah,
would
yeah.
love all day to
Mm.
to have one of those. So yeah, Scott, thank you for bringing that up. That's definitely always been my pick.
Yeah.
I love Roof.
Forgot about
It's a
that
great
guy.
deal. So,
Mm-hmm.
so what we'll do is, man, it's already been close to an hour already. So we'll
Dude.
get to the last question. I know, what the hell? The second hour went by way faster.
Oh wait, my
Um,
collector car is a either an FJ80 or a FJ. I mean, or a Range Rover Classic 2-door.
okay.
But anyway, go ahead.
Somebody's asking, what do you guys think about 914s? I want to be in the process of building one, so I'll let you know once I do that, and I'll potentially be dropping a K series in it. So
Ooh.
I can't wait to see all the people get butthurt over
It's like a skateboard. That car's like a skateboard.
Actually, I'm only building because my son likes them a lot. So I'm hoping that when he starts to drive, like he'll really have a thing for them or enjoy driving one with the Japanese motor. But all right, let's get to this. There's a lot of people out there right now who are watching, who are following. They are basically a younger version of you. Like a lot of us are younger versions of you, right? We're just kind of like creatives blowing in the wind and trying to see where we can stick. For somebody who's out there who just wants to be a part of the community, wants to do something special, what kind of advice would you have for aspiring creatives that are, and I do want to say this, is that I know a lot of you guys are out there feeling, being a part of the creative world is very difficult. There are going to be times where, I mean, not just times, but many times where you're going to feel like you just question everything you're doing. And you're going to feel like, fuck, I'm just wasting my time. Should I go get a job? Or how long do I stay broke for? Or when is my time going to come? And you don't know the answer because, you not only have to be likable, but you got to have some sort of skill set that somebody is going to appreciate. Or you got to be very active in the community or have a good personality or have big boobs or I don't know, whatever it is. You need to have something that people latch onto. And so I think a lot of people out there struggle with the fact that, nowadays it's easier because there's community. When I was starting in early 2000s, we didn't have the help that you can get now from somebody who's like, 1,000 miles away.
Yeah.
And so for somebody who's been in it for such a long time, what would you say to somebody who came up to you and said, yo, Mark, I'm 28 years old. I've been doing this for 5 years and I've had little traction. Should I just go become a nurse or should I just keep trying to do this?
Yeah. Well, so things didn't really start popping off for me till about 28, right? 28, I said, I'll be candid with you guys, but at 28, I said, okay, I want to get married at 28, and I also want to make almost $200,000 a year, right? And I think that was a fucking stretch, right? Like, geez, how am I going to make close to 200? And money's not everything, but you got to set goals for yourself. Yeah. And I think around 25, 26, I started realizing, okay, maybe I do have some talent, and I started getting more confidence in myself, but without being that kid in the agency where, oh man, this guy knows it all. He's one of those irritating kids, right? You just got to be very, very, you got to listen, and you got to be very, very humble to your peers, because those guys have been there way longer than you have, and they've been through the ringers, right? So I think with me setting a goal, and maybe I didn't hit 200, I got close, right? And then every year after that, I would just like push myself even harder, because you're gonna hit a limit. I mean, it's really up to you where you want to hit your limit and when you want to stop. It's not about money chasing, it's about reaching your goals. So if 200 was my goal for the next 10 years, I'm happy with that, right? Because I'm maintaining, right? And I'm still being super creative at the same time. I think really for kids these days, there's so many options for them. They have so many avenues. I think for them, they just need to focus.
Yeah.
Right? Pick one thing and focus on it. If you focus and concentrate on that, you'll be number one. For real, guaranteed, in like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is it's I think because we live in an Insta culture, it's really important to state that even everything you did, it came over a long period of time, right? And long period could be anything, but it doesn't come overnight. It does take a lot of persistence, a lot of being creative, and being creative also means that what's in the marketplace, where your niche is, and what you bring to the table, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So, okay. So before we get cut off, I want to thank you, Mark, for joining us and being a part of the show, whichever this is. But I do want to state that.
Can we go back up, or they're about to get cut off, right?
Yeah, it's probably going to cut off in 30 seconds. But this will go up to YouTube, and in a couple weeks we'll join Mark again. We'll talk about the whole RWB thing. So thank you guys. for joining in,
Thanks,
and
guys.
we'll do this again. All right.
All right,
Peace out,
guys.
guys.
Later.